everyone. My name is Padmini Nidumolu, and I'm the co-founder of Lean and Agile for Women, an organization that was co-founded in 2018 with Leila Rao to bring women in lean and agile spaces together on a common platform so we can share with each other, we can collaboratively grow together, and the collective wisdom, collective experience, and expertise in the group is definitely larger than one person. That's the intent of this organization. As part of our organization, we launched an initiative called LIA100, Lean and Agile 100, in 2019. And the objective of this initiative is to bring the stories and journeys of 100 women across the world who have done very well for themselves, of course, but also gave back to the community. But most importantly, they have an incredible story to share of their successes and failures, and also how they persisted through that. So, as part of that series, today we have with us Aditi Agarwal. Hi, Aditi. Thank you for joining us.
Hi,
Very honored to have you on this show.
same here. I'm very honored to be here.
Thank you. I'll do a very brief introduction about you, and then we can, dive deeper into the conversation. So for you all, Aditi provides excellent agile coaching to help teams develop complex products very effectively. She has a deep experience of delivering high value products and services to end users, in addition to project and portfolio management, agile methodologies, scaled agile, lean thinking, leadership, and much more. Aditi shares her knowledge with others to make a difference in this world, certainly. And today she has published several books on Amazon. Few of them are Enterprise Agility with OKRs, a complete guide to enterprise business agility, the basics of agile and lean, develop an agile mindset and lean thinking, basics of Kanban, a popular lean framework, an expert guide to problem solving with practical examples, and more. She's definitely on a roll with writing the books. So with that, Aditi, thanks again for joining. Let's get talking here, right? So can you share with us what brought you into the agile space to begin with?
Sure, Padmini. So back in 2005 or till 2012, when I was managing the large end-to-end projects with waterfall, traditional plan-driven method, the team used to struggle all the day, day-to-day challenges with not meeting customer requirements and other things that were going on. And during, at that time, it was around 10 years back or so, Padmini, that there was a lot of agile transformation was going on within the organization. And I was drawn towards the Agile Manifesto and the 12 Agile principles that we have. With so much focus on customer, it's like customer centric approach with focus on business value, mostly on people side of it, like collaboration, transparency, and all the things that we bring up. So that led me into it, and as well as the transformation that was happening in the organization. So my journey began from there. So that's how my journey started on the career side, as well as what happened in 2016. I was very fortunate to attend a Tony Robbins workshop,
Wow.
and it had it had multiple speakers in there, all very known authors and motivational speakers there. And that workshop really inspired me to give back to the community, to do something more, to share my knowledge and bring others along. So I wanted people to have that required resources, tools, whatever it is, right? Either books, courses, whatever I know, if I can share with everyone else around here, around me, and so that they can be successful at work. That became suddenly became my purpose, and it just dawned on me that I need to do a little bit more than what I do today. And that's how I got sucked up into that.
That's really incredible. And you mentioned about Tony Robbins and the workshop and how you got inspired. I think that's all it takes, right? Sometimes those moments, those are defining moments, and you just get transformed. It's like an aha moment, right? And
Yep,
so
exactly.
glad, it worked out for you, and you really put it into action. Getting inspired is one thing, but doing something with that inspiration is totally on a different level, right? I think all of us have the aha moments from time to time,
Right.
but what do we
Right.
do with those moments is more important, uh,
Exactly.
right? What follows
Yep.
after. No, that's fantastic. And can you share with us a little bit about your journey in the organization itself after the agile transformation was in place, and you were in the position of a coach, and I'm assuming it was not a bed of roses, right, as with any other transformation. Can you share with us a little bit about what that journey was like, and the challenges, and how you overcame them?
Yeah. So it has been a long journey again, starting from the Scrum Master role, then Safe Agilist, being a release train engineer, Safe Process Consultant, all the different certifications and things that come with scaled Agile as well as Lean and Agile methodologies as such. And even being an Agile coach, it wasn't easy because you have to be in a position where people can listen to you, because you have to have that um, authority, or in the sense, like, obviously a subject matter expertise that will come with you. But even with that, it is sometimes hard to
Yeah,
explain your ideas and make people believe in what you're saying is true, and let's experiment that and see and do a retrospective after that if it doesn't work. So things like that. So it was tough, but then over the years, as your expertise, as your knowledge builds up, you start to gain more and more confidence, and then you are in a position to actually influence and make change to the organization.
yeah, yeah. No, I think that's very powerful right there, right? It's never a straightforward, or a silver bullet. I think it's just a journey, right? It depends on how that organization reacts to what you're coaching. So yeah,
Mhm.
and I want to go back to the Tony Robbins moment, right? So tell us a little bit about that, because I really want to deep dive into that, because it can be a very powerful story, right? To get inspired, and what do you do with that inspiration? And when you do something with that inspiration, is it like a big bang success right off the gate? Can you take us through the
Yeah, it
journey?
wasn't sure, Padmini, and it wasn't a big bang success or anything like that. So what happened was, once I, you know, finished the workshop, the same day, the same evening, I was actually trying to figure out, how should I write a book? How do I even go about,
Yeah,
what are the resources available out there? How do I even start? I had no idea whatsoever, no experience, had never written more than an article or a blog sometimes, but definitely no experience in writing a book, let alone publishing or marketing or anything like that. So yeah, I started with whatever I knew. The first book is not even in production right now. It was, I think it was called "What Is Scrum." That
okay.
was my very first book.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wanted to write it in a way such that, okay, that was my motivation was a little different. I wanted to write it in a way such that teenagers or kids who are actually going to colleges, and they have some kind of early insight into how corporates run or manage their work.
Mm,
That was my initial motivation when I started with, because my son used to ask, even, what do you do at work? What do you even, what is all these terminologies, jargons that people
my
are
kids
talking
ask
about?
it too. Yeah.
Yeah, so it started with that.
Yeah.
And I was passionate about to write it in so simple terms, with examples like, how do you write your book reports, for example, how do you organize. So very, very simple way in terms I wanted to write that book. And it didn't meet its required audience, because I had no idea, no experience in book marketing,
Yeah.
or reaching out to the right audience, except for my
Okay.
son. So it had its normal, its eventual death of that book. But overall, what happened was after that, I learned a lot in the process as to what works and what doesn't. I got connected with other authors as well. I networked with a local meetup group here as well, which which gave me a lot of insight as to what is the right way to take it forward. How should you publish it? For example, should you go with traditional publishing, self-publishing, and all of those nuggets there. So I kept on pushing myself. I explored a lot more, and then I wrote a. I think the next book was obviously the enhanced version of it, the basics of Scrum. So I wrote that, and then I went back and wrote the basics of Agile and Lean for those who actually, what are we talking about? What is Agile to start with? Because people will say, I know you're writing about basics of Scrum, but where does it start? So I went back and wrote the first sequel, the first series, first book in that series. Then, and then the basics of Kanban came into that, and then now enterprise agility with OKRs came in. So yeah, a few books I have done since then, but that's how it all began, and it wasn't all rosy, Padmini. It
Well,
was
that's incredible. That's
difficult.
incredible. And first of all, if that book is still somewhere, I would love to give that to my son who is heading to college shortly. I think it will be
Sure,
immensely helpful and valuable for him.
definitely.
And that's a great story right there, Aditi. The way you kind of got inspired and jumped into it with, I would say, a blind leap of faith, right? With whatever little you knew. But then I think you took the learning from that experience, right? There are only two paths, right? Once you come out of an experience like that, yes, it did not meet the intended audience. Yes, it didn't do well. So you could be
Yep,
dejected, disappointed, depressed, or you could take the learning from it and really leapfrog forward. I think that's what you've done, right? You've really
yep,
taken it
exactly.
to the next level. And
Yep.
when you were in Tony Robinson's, workshop, and when you came back home and you started searching for a book, why was writing a book so important to you? And how did that thought even come to you?
That's a very good question, Padmini. So I thought about, see, the whole purpose, writing a book is just a way or a method. The whole purpose was to actually give back to the community and to achieve a bigger purpose, which I just realized during that workshop, that what is my purpose of life? Why I am here on earth? I mean, I'm going on a little bit of spiritual side, or maybe perhaps a little bit psychological side of it, but I thought about what is my bigger purpose? How can I serve, and
Mhm.
how can I give back? How can I make a difference in others' lives? And the first thing, Padmini, that I thought about was that what is it that I have? What is this? What are my skill sets? What do I know? How can Because I start from there. What I know, I have been in this project management space, started from waterfall, Scrum, whatever the methodologies. At least I have that skill set, I have that expertise. That's where I started. Let's start from there. Let me start sharing my knowledge out to the wider community. That's how the purpose was that, and the books was a medium, since everyone can write.
Right, right. And I really love what you just said, Aditi, right? I think first figuring out what the bigger purpose is so very important because the path towards it or the tools to achieve that, I think, will emerge automatically, right? But figuring out that higher purpose is very important, and I think that's where most of us are stuck, right? We
Agree.
probably can't figure that out, and I'm so glad you did, and you kind of continued with the books.
Yep.
That brings me to the next thought here, and I ask this of almost all the interviewees who are authors, right? When you first wanted to write a book, there's always the thought of a self-thought. It's a self-talk, right? Of can I write it? Am I even eligible to write? Who will care? right? What do I have to offer in the book, etc.? These are all the self-limiting thoughts that you get. And I'm sure you probably experience the same, right? And often that is the biggest bridge that people can't cross over. So my question is twofold. Did you have those thoughts? If you did, how did you overcome? Because that can help so many of our viewers who are struggling to even write a blog post.
I wouldn't consider myself somebody who can write at ease without any writer's block, for example. I was not in that situation. My purpose was to share my knowledge. And that purpose was so strong that I started writing whatever I know, right? In the sense, like, what I did was I first created an outline of the book. And then I started just jotting down whatever I know on that, whatever I want to be able to teach or coach others. That
Mhm.
was my purpose, right? Everybody else, the struggles that I had in order to make the transition, for example, from a approach to to where I was, so that everybody else don't have to follow the same learning curve. What can I offer in advance or in this book that will help accelerate their journey of agile and lean? So that was the purpose. So when the purpose is strong enough, it doesn't, somehow it just doesn't bother you that can you or can you not. You
Yeah,
just, I just started doing it, and then I kind of structured it in a way that makes sense to me.
yeah, well, that's fantastic. And did you receive any feedback for your books? If so, how did you receive the good and then also good feedback?
Yeah, so feedback came in form of either Amazon reviews or personal Facebook messages and things like that. I'll share a recent story of a recent feedback that I just received on, not on my books, but it was an Udemy course actually. So I've published a few Udemy courses as well. So one of the person reached out to me on LinkedIn,
Oh,
and he thanked me on in my course, and he mentioned that I'm because of your course, first of all, my resume got shortlisted for an interview. And he mentioned not only that, the most of the interview was focused on what you learned from the course. So it's like all of the questions were geared towards the contents on the course. And it was very hard for me to like, take in that, kind of positive feedback. But
yeah,
I was really glad. I was very happy that I could make a difference in somebody's careers now. It's
right,
like,
right.
by just taking my course, he would have obviously listed it into his resume, and it made a difference. And he actually got the job as well. He actually
Wow.
followed up with me, and he got the job. So I'm very happy for that. So some of those reviews are what keeps you going, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Making a difference, right? Starting with one person to many, that's I'm sure is very gratifying and very fulfilling. That's
Yes,
really very satisfying. So great, and congratulations on that positive
thank
feedback,
you.
right? Yeah, and you know, uh, I always think about the cultural backdrop of the women, who come from different parts of the world. And I know you're from India, I'm from India as well. And there's always that cultural backdrop, and I would say social conditioning, right? Societal conditioning that is in the back of our minds. And coming from a patriarchal society, dominating on our minds, how did that cultural backdrop impact you, negatively or positively? Right? There are many positives as well, from the culture that we come from. How did that impact you? And did it impede you, accelerate you in some ways?
So, Padmini, actually, I would say it didn't impact me negatively because my parents had been very, very supportive of my career growth from very, very beginning. In fact, from in my childhood days, they were like pillars who supported me with my higher education, and even coming to US now here, right, and all these years. So they were they provided me a lot of support and encouragement what I needed to be out here. So I had that support structure with me. So I got that, and then but yeah, it was at times difficult to make yourself heard, because in the society of being dominated by men, sometimes your voice, your opinion gets sidelined, and it's important that you keep going and obviously um, push things through and make sure you're heard.
Yeah.
That was a challenge in at some times, but yeah, I had to um, live through that.
Yeah, yeah. And what would you do to remind yourself in those situations, Aditi, when situations are, in a way regressive, and you want to push
Exactly.
yourself forward, right? How would you remind yourself?
First of all, I would say believe in yourself, right? Because you have all the skills, you have all the tools in your pocket, you have what it takes to be here, you have all the education, all your experience to back you. So
Mhm,
first of all, believe in yourself. That is one important thing.
mhm,
Second is um, embrace positive thoughts. The reason is positive thinking, I would say. And it's not just thinking, it's a three-step strategy, I think. It's think, speak, and act
mm,
in a positive way. So that's another thing which I keep in back of my mind. Like, am I because I don't, if the self-doubt comes and starts to grow up on you, right? That you should always believe in yourself, never give up, think positive, and also talk your affirmations out, speak it out, as well as act in a positive way, in the sense like either it's helping out community or doing some you know volunteering somewhere, or even listening to some uplifting webinars or anything like that. Your actions will also kind of um, support what you're trying to do. Your action is very important when at the time of positive thinking and whatever
yeah.
you're trying to do. So yeah, so those things will uplift you, and in those moments when you need it the most.
And that's what you've done, right? When you had a positive thought at
Yes.
Tony Robbins' workshop, you just came and
Mhm.
acted on it.
Yes,
We made it
that's right.
real. That's incredible, Aditi. And as we wrap up our interview here, is there a message, like a one liner, that you would like to give to an audience that they can just take away?
I think I would say know your bigger purpose, and map your day-to-day activities or what you're doing to fulfill that bigger purpose. Work towards it or walk towards it. So I think that's what my message would be. So know your bigger purpose and then move towards it.
Perfect. And I love the fact that you mentioned that bit, right? Which is knowing the bigger purpose is one, but day to day actions leading up to that purpose is more like implementing stories to achieve your epic, right?
Exactly.
Because it all
Exactly.
starts with a story.
Yep.
So that's so meaningful. Thank you so much, Aditi. This was a very, very meaningful conversation. I personally took away so many nuggets from what we spoke here. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Padmani. It was really great talking to you.